What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So there is anticipation right now that Nintendo would be holding some other event, another direct maybe, in the next couple of months, and wouldn't you know it, the whole thing may have just leaked online. At least that's something we've seen before every single year with a single document outlining the whole thing, and well, it's happened again somehow. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection that released to absolute disaster, even getting to the point where Aspire themselves have responded. And then we'll be taking a look at Saber Interactive, who's now made it official. They're breaking away from Embracer, going independent, and seems like Knights of the Republic remake, well, that's not dead just yet. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early and ad-free. If you want to learn more about that, click the join button down below this video. And we're going to start today with the Miyoo Mini Flip. This is something that was shown last October, I believe, in 2023, just kind of in like a quick, hey, what do you think of this idea? A clamshell design for that Miyoo Mini or Miyoo Mini Plus that people really seem to enjoy, and I even did a video on it, and yeah, I think it's a really, really cool handheld. But take a look at this. This was posted up yesterday over on X. It's from the Miyoo Mini Stock Alerts, showing a video of them kind of looking over it, saying the Miyoo Mini Flip is in final testing, so stay tuned for new news soon. If you don't want to wait, you can opt for one of our other two consoles. I mean, this is pretty cool. Obviously playing into the nostalgia of that form factor for the Game Boy Advance SP, and I do think something like this would be better off with a clamshell design where you can, of course, close it and protect that screen, which if you have a Miyoo Mini or Plus and you look at it, it is like the whole front is just about the screen and it's like glass. It's concerning, obviously, that's just kind of out there, maybe in your pocket, getting hit with some keys or something else to scratch it up. Screen protector would help, but really it being a clamshell, I mean, that to me is the ultimate form factor for something like this. Still, I'd want to see how cramped it is, especially with those joysticks at the bottom. So maybe I will pick one of these up and we can check it out. And really, I think a teardown would be kind of interesting for it too. Also, we've talked about the never-ending pursuit that these massive AAA studios have for the live service genre, just desperately trying to get one of these games to work. And it's not really surprising when you see headlines like this for a mobile game. Yeah, Monopoly, yeah, that's reached $2 billion in consumer spending. This, by the way, done in 10 months. It hasn't even been out for a full year, and it's grossed $2 billion. Now, I will say that does obviously have to do with it being available to just mobile phones, and we know there are a ton of people out there, obviously, who'd be able to play this game then off of the Apple App Store or iOS App Store or Google Play Store. But still, when you see these numbers getting thrown around, it makes sense why Microsoft has talked about mobile games. We've heard Sony talk about mobile games. Nintendo clearly is playing around with that idea of doing multiple releases of their own first-party intellectual properties. But Monopoly Go, $2 billion, which I looked into it just to see how exactly they make money on the game. And it comes down to just buying rolls. So you roll the dice, obviously, to move around the board. And then you buy a property, upgrade them, move on to the new board. But you only have so many rolls you can do for free, and then you have to wait or spend money. And it seems to be working. Monopoly Go, who would have thought? $2 billion in less than a year. Oh, and we did have our next Epic Game Store free game that was unveiled, which you can see here. It is Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and this will be free until March 21st. So you have a week to log into the Epic Game Store and download it. And I saw this, and I mean, it's cool. I already have it anyway in like a Steam library and stuff. But for people who haven't, yeah, why not download it, check it out? I know it's a whole thing with launchers and stuff, but I mean, it's free, it's there, and I would like to see another Deus Ex game at some point, but it does seem like it's been shelved for now within Embracer, which is going through their own deal right now. So unfortunate stuff there, but hey, if you've been curious about the series, again, it's free. You can claim it up until the 21st of March, so you have a week. Why not give it a shot, see what you think. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with a Nintendo Direct leak. Like, the whole thing got out there online on a single document, like one piece of paper you can print out yourself and have all the announcements in one place. Never seen it before. Well, this was actually shared online, I think it's by PC Focus, and they pulled it down. Not until it accumulated like 1 million views though, and it still is to this point where people ask if it's real. Well, let's take a look at the document. I mean, right at the top, they even added shadowing to the Nintendo Direct logo. So again, as we go through this, I want you to picture this apparently just being a document within Nintendo, which, by the way, the date format they have here, I guess that'd be like Nintendo Europe or something. Yeah, not Nintendo of America, but April 18th. So I think that's a Thursday. Okay, sure, it could be on a Thursday. Anyway, they start with Hyrule Warriors: The Imprisoning War, November 21st. Okay, so follow up there to Age of Calamity, I guess. Then we have the headlines: Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD, July 18th. I guess no Twilight Princess attached to that one. Monster Hunter Stories on June 14th. Endless Ocean, we already know about these. Epic Mickey Rebrushed. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. All right. Then we have Fire Emblem Echoes, which I do think there is a Fire Emblem game that's upcoming that will be revealed at some point. I don't necessarily know if it's this one right here, and again, August 29th. And then we have headlines. For some reason, Animal Crossing New Leaf HD is coming over November 7th. I think they're going a little too all in on the idea of Nintendo just doing remasters all over the place of some of these older titles. This one, of course, coming from the 3DS there, but I don't know if I'd count on that. I do think there is an Animal Crossing obviously in development now, but I think that'll be for Nintendo's next system, not one that they would pull from the 3DS, as much as I'm sure people would actually like to see this here. Fantasy Life, The Girl Who Steals Time, Deca Police. Deca Police, by the way, is expected in 2024. There was this whole mistranslation thing that was going on where it seemed like they were pointing towards 2025, when in actuality, to my understanding, it's still slated for some time this year. I'm thinking later on, maybe around holiday season. Little Kitty, Big City. All right. Biomutant. Hey, they got the Biomutant release date right, at least. Then we have a segment for Super Mario Party 2, October 24th. Again, obviously, there's a Mario Party in development. I don't know. Would that be on the current Switch, or would they use that to push the next system? That's the other thing you have to think about here is a lot of games Nintendo are going to be doing would, of course, be set up from their first-party studios to help push the next hardware, and I feel like that's not something this paper is taking into account. Super Mario Galaxy is back, apparently, after being delisted as part of the All-Stars Collection, and it's bringing Super Mario Galaxy 2 with it. So that's September 19th. Scale Wave Unbound. Okay, July 18th. Call of Duty Black Ops Collection. Yeah, I do wonder if Microsoft and Activision, if they're just going to move past the current Switch and just go for the next system, as maybe they were planning something for this holiday, but you know what? I mean, Nintendo themselves pushed it to next year. We'll see you guys in holiday 2025 with the next full Call of Duty. Brave Anniversary Edition, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and they close out with a whole bunch of Metroid. Apparently, Samus Returns HD, early 2025, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, Prime 3 Corruption, that's just available right away, and then Metroid Prime 4 Extinction coming out October 10th. Oh, and get this. Apparently, this is document 27 of 60. That there's 59 other pages out there. This is just the start of the Direct. Maybe it's like 3 or 4 more pages, and they also have documents for the next system. And okay, yeah, you get the idea. No, this is not correct or true. And there were a lot of people tagging me, messaging me about this, thinking that this is the Direct we have to look forward to in April. I mean, obviously you can look at it and say that's a lot of stuff to be announced in a Direct. I mean, that is like a dream Direct just across the board for many people. Like there's something for everyone, and a lot of it does sound too good to be true. It's one of those things that builds up expectations. You go into the Direct, come out the other side just completely disappointed. If we do have a Direct in April, the running theory is it would be a mini, because remember, they would most likely have something set up for June, and there is a good chance that their new system would at least be referenced in some way. Could be a trailer to close out, like, hey, here's the name for it. Here's like a trailer they did in October when the Switch was first coming up, just kind of showing actors and actresses kind of like moving around with the system, showing off some of the features for it. But I don't think it would be something this stacked in April if we're also expecting them to show up in June. So no, I would just kind of walk right past this one. It's just a bout of entertainment, you can say, but this is something we see every single year, and it constantly is asked, is this real? No. One, if you want to make this more believable, remove half the games and then put it up on a computer monitor and run past it with your phone like you're making a break for it, like through a conference room where they're showing this off. At least then I'd say, okay, there's a sense of danger involved with the Direct leaking out. I might believe that one then, especially if you have to try to decipher blurred words and stuff. That'll at least be more fun, but like, try a bit more than just a printout with an obvious PNG Nintendo Direct logo at the top that you probably got from Google Images. Next up, let's talk about the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection launch, which is sad, disappointing, disturbing in some ways, that the fact that these games came out in this condition and were treated this way. And it is now to the point where Aspyr has responded to all of this, but it was not a good day for a couple of classic titles that I remember very fondly from the Xbox PS2 era. Anyway, we can see over on Steam, currently sitting at mostly negative. That's on over 3,200 reviews. Remember, this game is coming in right now on Steam at $35. It's also available on all their platforms, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and there are varying levels of success based on the platform you're playing on, which we'll go over here. But anyway, if you go over to IGN, they do spell it out at the top saying the launch is a disaster, and the reason is incredibly unfortunate. Now, a game like this, a collection like this, from a time that probably predates many people currently who are buying their systems, buying their games outright, well, it's if you don't make a good impression, because the visuals necessarily won't, just in terms of gameplay and just functionality, they're probably not coming back. And in this case, Aspyr seems to have just completely underestimated how many people would come out. So here, for example, there's a tweet just kind of summarizing this pretty well from Seb saying 10,000 people played on launch night. That's on Steam, by the way, because we can use SteamD to see this. SteamDB only has 3 servers that have 64 slots for a total of little less than 200. You can spectate as well in some cases. The multiplayer doesn't work otherwise. Price tag of $35. That's right. The primary draw of the Battlefront Collection for 1 and 2 was to go online and play multiplayer with your friends. 64 people in one room, 32 on 32, massive epic battles in space, on land, in these very familiar and iconic locations. It's a recipe for just some incredible stuff, right? And it didn't work. And it's incredibly unfortunate once again. So, in my case, I played it originally on the Switch the day before it came out. Servers weren't functional or up, and you go, okay, well, they're holding off for when the public has access to it, because there's a good chance that most of the reviewers wouldn't be able to fill out a room of 64 anyway. So you figure they're going to be prepared for what should be a rush of people into a classic collection like this, and they just weren't. Now, it seems that they have been working on this over the period of 24 to 48 hours now, and Aspyr has responded over on their website, you can see. This is an update on the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. We'd like to thank the Battlefront community for their overwhelming support and feedback for the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection release. At launch, we experienced critical errors with our network infrastructure. The result was incredibly high ping, matchmaking errors, crashes, and servers not appearing in the browser. Since launch, we've been working to address these issues and increase network stability, and we will continue our efforts until our network infrastructure is stabilized to prevent further outages. They also have a link here where you can report bugs, errors, unexpected behaviors, that sort of thing to their support team. And what people are experiencing really are, yes, disconnects, crashing for the game, but also some very weird stuff like what's called rubber banding, where you'll be moving, and all of a sudden you'll teleport to a spot 20 feet ahead of you to basically resync with the people around you. There's, of course, stuttering movement from different characters, and some have also noticed that there's no auto-aim for online, which is going to be a problem more so on something like the Switch in handheld mode, because the Joy-Cons have limited travel with their sticks, and it just makes it hard to aim. So this is a game I would recommend using a Pro controller with their more normal sticks, or obviously play it on the Xbox or the PlayStation, where you have, I'd say, better control. Or hey, on PC with mouse and keyboard. Only issue is the PC version seems to be the one that is functioning the least, and that's very strange to me, because that's the one that I probably would have prioritized in general, as it seemed like people on Steam were really ready to jump into this one. And it's unfortunate to see, because that's your first impression. It's kind of it. Like, people won't go back to Battlefront 2, like Battlefront 2 that EA did years and years ago after the loot box stuff, even though they have eliminated that from the game completely. But that was their first impression. They're not going back. So I almost wonder if Aspyr has kind of already lost the initial wave of people, and they're just going to be fighting to try to stay somewhat relevant with a collection that should have just been awesome right away. So unfortunate stuff here. I'm going to keep checking back in on this one. I'll probably grab it on the Xbox to play it a bit there as well to see how it continues to hopefully be repaired and fixed and get to a better place where you'd be able to recommend it. But at this time, I'd be holding off. Next up, let's talk about Saber now going independent. It was something that was reported on prior, but now it has just been made official by Embracer and Saber, and it does indeed look like private investors are coming in essentially to buy out Saber and have them go off and do their own thing. But it does appear they're going to still be somewhat attached to Embracer with different projects that are currently ongoing. We can see this, though, posted up over on VGC, who had the story. They say Embracer has officially sold off Saber Interactive, the group, which is home to studios 3D Realms, Slipgate Ironworks, and more for $247 million. Now, there was an update from Bloomberg saying Beacon intends to exercise an option to acquire 4A Games, they're behind the Metro series, and Zen Studios for pinball, which would see the total value of the deal rise to about $500 million. Saber's not a small operation, by the way. They have thousands and thousands of employees. Now, the interesting thing here, because obviously people are wondering what's going on with that Knights of the Old Republic remake. It was announced. It sounds like there were issues. It went from Aspyr to now Saber, who's leaving. And well, it seems that they're still going to be working on this thing in tandem. So we don't know the necessarily the deal, but like, here's this slide. Studio project split post-transaction. They're just trying to explain what exactly is happening here, right? But the main thing we want to look at is a couple bullet points down. It says a previously announced AAA game based on a major license. This, many people are speculating, is indeed Knights of the Old Republic remake, and it seems that it's still alive within Saber. I kind of feel like they're gonna get this thing done, and I don't know what it looks like necessarily. None of us do. It seems like there were issues when they first showed it, whether it was, wow, this is a really cool vertical slice, how much more money is it gonna cost? And then they realize, oh, that's a lot of money, and that's going to take a long time, or it was just really bad. It sounds weird. They could be like, it was too good, or it was too bad, and either one apparently gets everyone fired, but that's what happened there, seemingly, according to reports. So I do hope that Saber is able to get this one done, and I hope Saber can go off and kind of do their own thing and be successful and pick and choose their projects, because they do seem to be very, very talented with stuff they've done across all platforms. And yes, that does include the Switch. So it'd be interesting to see what they decide to do and what partnerships they decide to form away from Embracer Group. But yeah, looks like that's happening. Saber Interactive going fully independent with, yes, the help of some private investors. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Famitsu sales charts very quickly, because we did have the debut sales for Unicorn Overlord. Let's take a look here, though, at the top 10. Starting with Unicorn Overlord, this is on the Switch, 40,991. So very, very good there for Vanillaware based on the expectations I'm sure they had for it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, though, it dropped 91%. It's down 24,482 copies, still pushing for 300,000. That is not what Square wanted to see. Okay, that's pretty tough. Okay, then we have Unicorn Overlord. This is on the PS5, 24,398. Fitness Boxing, all right, on the Switch, that's the 14,128. Then we have Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Unicorn Overlord on the PS4 at 8,797. You can see Vanillaware did pretty well here with their new title. And we have Momotaro Densetsu World and Splatoon 3 to round out the top 10. If we move over to systems, the Switch coming in 65,898. It continues to roll along. It's actually not that much of a drop-off now. I'm looking at it from last year, just about 215,000 units. I mean, this is still powering along, currently in its 8th year, all things considered. Then we have the PS5, 39,000 systems. Again, kind of a drop down, about 9,000 units from last week. Xbox Series is up to 3,746. The PS4 at 1,816. And then 14 more 3DSs somehow still sold. So on one hand, you have Unicorn Overlord doing well for kind of the size and the budget that was really put out there for a game that's more like AA kind of standard. But for kind of that tactical RPG style game, it seems to be selling. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, though, other end of the spectrum, and not looking great right now for sales in Japan. Again, it does appear to be a series that's moved more and more Western in like the past several entries. So I think we still need to see how it does in places like the MPD chart before we completely say, okay, Square needs to really reevaluate what they're doing right now with Final Fantasy. 16 didn't exactly light the world on fire, and Rebirth, which is based off of an incredibly popular version of Final Fantasy, that being 7, seems to be trending downward. So, well, again, we'll see with some more sales that come out, or maybe Square shows up and says, hey, it sold this many copies and we're very happy with it. One way or the other, someone's going to say something at some point, Square to their investors or the MPD sales, to hopefully give us another piece to this puzzle. And before we go to the comments of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked which Zelda game that first appeared in its console generation is your favorite. That's very important, by the way, the debut Zelda game for that generation. And I kind of thought about this because we talked about a Nintendo podcast yesterday, Breath of the Wild versus Tears of the Kingdom, and would seem to really like Tears of the Kingdom, but then you bring in the impact of Breath of the Wild as like the first open world, and it kicked off the Switch, that sort of thing. There is sort of that impression that a new Zelda game makes on a generation, kind of defines it a bit. Let's see, Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild are actually tied. Wow, 30%, 30%. And then Link to the Past, okay, at least giving the real winner here some respect at 16%. Wind Waker at 13%, and then Twilight Princess, wow, really, that's like the bottom there is Twilight Princess, okay. So, but yeah, Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, those seem to always go up against each other in any of these polls for kind of popularity, and I get it. Ocarina of Time was that big aha moment for just 3D Zelda in general, and Breath of the Wild was the big aha moment for the open world style Zelda game. So a lot of firsts, and yes, a lot of impactful releases there between those two. And we'll finish up with the comments of the day. We'll start with this one here. This is from Tim, who says, I really want God of War 1, 2, and the PSP games. Well, I have good news for you. In some of those leaked documents from Insomniac, they included PlayStation Network statistics, and it does appear that God of War, just all the God of War games, are the most played games basically on PlayStation Network, even though they are streamed through a premium. Sony, realizing this, I'm sure is thinking, oh, could we just resell those? I mean, look what they've been doing with some of these collections and remasters. You don't think they're looking at that, wondering if they could do a collection of the PSP God of Wars 1 and 2? I mean, they've done it for the PS3. I'm sure they could probably port those up and then release it on the PS5 to a generation of gamers that, it sounds weird, might not know Kratos in that way because they kind of know him now with God of War, and then God of War Ragnarok as the slower, older, more over-the-shoulder Kratos. So it might be an interesting release, and I wouldn't be shocked if Sony did as well, say. And then we'll go over to comment from the members video. This is from Loom Doom, who says, I think it's funny that selling only 20 million for Tears of the Kingdom could be considered disappointing for Nintendo, whereas Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is fighting for its life to even hit 3 million. Just goes to show how massive Zelda has grown this generation. Oh yeah, no. For Tears of the Kingdom at 20 million plus, that's incredible based on the history of Zelda. But of course, you're always going to be compared, in this case for Nintendo, to the last entry, and it's not selling as well as Breath of the Wild so far. I mean, sure, things could happen where they do a backwards compatibility patch for Tears of the Kingdom and not Breath of the Wild, and everyone rebuys it or just buys it for the first time even to test out their next system. They're going to run into this again, though, with Animal Crossing. I don't think the next one will sell as well as the most recent Animal Crossing, over 40 million, but then we're talking about, only sold 30 million. What are we gonna do? And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's the ridiculous Nintendo Direct leak that's already out there months in advance? Are you surprised that these lists, by the way, still pick up so much traction online? And then also, what about the Battlefront Classic Collection that is, again, very unfortunate what's happened here with this one, the disaster this release. But do you think Aspyr can fix it and bring this thing back around? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.